Good morning, folks. Hold on a second. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going back to that horrible world known as JRC, but before we get going, the usual disclaimers. Now, thankfully, I got the bulk of my videos for this upcoming week done yesterday, so, whew, I might actually get a little bit of rest in between now and then before I have to go kick my own ass again. Yay! Ugh. And I managed to resist the temptation to look into my Twitter TL before jumping on here, which is probably a good thing because it never ceases to have somebody say something bigoted, ableist, and just stupid beforehand. So, yay! Alright, so let's get started, shall we? In the description box, folks, you're going to find the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It is written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's quote-unquote behavioral modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused. So you know the drill, folks. Please read that article and don't forget to share on all your social media. I also want to put out there, please search for NeuroClastic on your YouTube feeds. They just recently put out a brand new video, and I would definitely like them to get more than 69 views. These people are doing very good work. So please, when you get done with this video, please go on YouTube, search NeuroClastic. That is NeuroClastic. Okay? Good. You're also going to find linked in there NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC has the balls to see through with their threat. We got the pertinent links to the Agape boarding school situation as well. Agape boarding school is a Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has and pending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it. These claims being substantiated by the hard evidence gathered in the investigation done by the Missouri Department of Social Services that include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have I had curry, folks, forgive me. Morning curry, okay? Anyways, as I was saying, you have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor who still lives on the premises with full access to those boys, up on multiple, again, substantiated by the hard evidence gathered by the Missouri Department of Social Services, claims and allegations of rape, sodomy, and sexual assault of the boys there. We got a brand new attorney general, another mega stupid who has yet to make any comment whatsoever in regards to the Agape boarding school case. We have a prosecutor who has a major conflict of interest, considering that this county prosecutor has actually paid and drove one of the poor boys to sit in this school. And you've got a governor hyped up on a power trip who's too busy kissing Trump's ass and ruining our state to care about the people who are actually being abused. So, please read all those articles and share on all your social media. Don't forget to share and sign the change.org Shut Agape Boarding School Down petition. We also have the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet over shockable offenses, A clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002. The templates and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org shut the Judge Rotenberg Center down petition. When we discuss the JRC, folks, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones, all right? Now, this channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity and we speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this channel, parental supervision is very obviously advised. Also, heads up, once again, my numbers are going down in regards to my subscribers. YouTube likes to purge one or two randomly out of nowhere, supposedly. So, please check and make sure you're still subscribed, alright? Alright, trigger warning. We are about to descend into the mad ravings of a lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear victim blaming, gaslighting, abuse apologencia galore, lies, pseudoscience, and just enough bigotry and ableism to circle the globe a few thousand times. So just be prepared for that, alright? Alright, so let's get into it here, shall we? Okay, so this one states here, excuse me, phlegm. The abstract is as follows. Now, before we jump into this, I want to remind you that this particular study that Dr. Matthew Israel is citing is his own. He is once again has the arrogance and the audacity to use his own paper conducted by him and doctors whom he pays as evidence that what he does isn't torture. This is not how any of this should work. That is major conflict of interest. Dr. Matthew Israel has much to gain in regards to whether this is taken seriously or not. He's got a dog in the fight, which means this study is basically only good for one thing, which is, wiping my ass with it. It has no bearing on this case whatsoever. And anyone who's ever done a paper before can tell you. You can't cite yourself as a source and be taken seriously. But this doctor thinks that not only does he have the right to do so and that it should be taken seriously, but he submitted this shit to the UN. Okay? Just to give you a little context here. What we are about to read is done by a very biased group of individuals who very much have monetary stake into whether it's taken seriously or not. Therefore, if you go and you are conducting a study and you already have a biased viewpoint that you are right, it is not an honest study, is it? Moving on. Behavioral treatment of aggression with contingent skin shock has been investigated in relatively few studies and never with cognitively typical individuals. For fuck's sake. And if you want to know why there's not other studies being done on this, it is because it has been found by the rest of the medical community, which has its own problems, yes, but in this context they are very right. There are no other studies in this beyond the 70s because they view such study as completely unethical. And also completely abandons all rights of the individuals involved. They are correct. Which is why Dr. Matthew Israel is not citing anyone other than himself and the doctors whom he pays, because no legitimate school, or any group of doctors out there, or scientists or data analysts, are going to conduct a study such as this because of how unethical and inhumane it is. But moving on. We evaluated CSS during a 3-year period with 60 participants, half to 2/3 of whom functioned at normal or near normal cognitive levels. So again, we're basing it off of their functional assessment. Their functional assessment is inherently flawed. And the reason why this is because they only focus on the behaviors. It does not in any way, shape, or form focus on what we are already strong in, what are our strong areas. It does not focus on any aspects of the diagnosis or functionality of the human at all, only their deficits. Which means it's not an actual, well-rounded, full functional assessment. It shouldn't be used on anyone to measure what their, as he says, cognitive levels are. Because he's basing it all on secondhand observance and his own biased idea of what normal levels are. He's wrong, by the way, as is the rest of the medical model, because, as I always like to say, normal doesn't actually exist. And if you believe it does, become a people watcher at some point. You neurotypicals get up to some weird shit. You are very easily biased and passed along to any kind of new narrative or hashtag out there. You are willing to believe whatever a person says, regardless of how batshit it is. Okay? Normal does not exist. Alright? Good. I'm glad we covered that because I get so tired of it. Now, let's talk about the numbers he's working with. 60 individuals is not a large enough number in order to do an honest study. It is a very small number. Most studies usually involve hundreds, sometimes even thousands of individuals. But since, as I said, the medical community, as bad and as many issues as they are right on this, views this as completely unethical and inhumane. So this study is skewed. Nor is there enough individuals to get an actual conclusive case done. Okay? 60 individuals are not enough. Particularly since I want to bring up, this school doesn't just take in autistics. But let's just focus on autistics for a second. Autistics have varying functional levels that can be a good functioning day, bad functioning day. It basically throws his science out of the water, doesn't it? He's doing this against a broad scope because he has this asinine idea that you can provide the same treatment to completely different disabilities and that is going to work 100%. It's batshit, folks. Complete batshit. But let's move on. So let's see here. 60 individual charts arranged in multiple baseline across participants' display reveal clearly the effectiveness of the treatment. No, it doesn't, doctor. First off, what is the baseline? You're not describing what you consider a baseline is. As someone who's writing a paper on this subject, it is beholden on you to convince us of your hypothesis. You are not doing that. You're not providing what that baseline is, nor are you comparing it with what the rest of the medical community would consider baseline. So yeah, it's not really working, is it? As far as effectiveness, again, 60 individuals is too small of an amount of people to be able to prove that conclusively, doctor. Okay? We've also mentioned the effect that, yes, fear is effective. It gets immediate results. It works for a time. Remove that threat, and you still have the undealt with trigger that is causing the behaviors. And now you've got psychological trauma on top of it. So, yes, these behaviors will get worse. They will become prolonged. You'll have new behaviors that were never even there before because of what psychological trauma does to the human brain. But again, he's not going to mention any of this. Dr. Matthew Israel only considers loss of the behaviors as success. It doesn't matter if it doesn't happen for long term. It doesn't matter the emotional and psychological state of the students themselves. Just saying. When end-of-baseline data were compared with end-of-treatment data, CSS as a supplement of positive programming showed the effectiveness defined as 90% or greater reduction from baseline with 100% of the participants. Oh, really, doctor? Because I'm going to call bullshit. Remember, folks, what he considers success is, but the behaviors, they have decreased. Let's not think about the psychological damage and trauma you've inflicted, the bodily harm you have done, how badly you have stunted these kids' growth and mind development by depriving them of food and, just their basic fucking human rights. Yeah, that. But he wants to tell you it's 100% successful. That's a lie, folks. In case you're wondering. If it was indeed 100% successful, doctor, why do you use manual and mechanical restraint? Why are takedowns still happening in your school? And don't lie to me and tell me it's rare, because we got video footage, including video footage of your staff not even doing a normal takedown, but actually slugging and beating down a student in the hallway in one of your homes. That's not success. Traumatizing a student into the point of emotional catatonia where they might as well be a walking robot, that's not a success. Remember, folks, particularly with us neurodiverse, places like this is where we learn how to bury everything deep, 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 deep. And then when we get away from the threat, all those emotions and traumas and anger will burst out of us, as it would with anyone, neurotypical or not. And then he uses that as an excuse as to why we have to be on his torture device, never accepting responsibility for the emotional, psychological trauma that he's inflicted on the student that has caused this to happen. Let's move on here, shall we? This compares favorably with positive behavioral support procedures, which, according to the 1999 Treatment Outcome Review by Carr et al., achieved the effectiveness standard of only 55.5% in the cases. Again, I will bring you to this point that no shit, Sherlock. No one treatment is going to be 100% effective on every single individual out there. And you want to know why that is, doctor, in spite of your skewed, biased bullshit you're trying to sell. You want to know why that is? I can tell you. Because people have different disabilities. He's trying to convince you folks to compare apples and oranges here. That would be basically like using chemo treatment for cancer patients, but also to cure the common cold. Doesn't work, does it? because every single individual with a disability is different. We have different strengths and we have different weaknesses. Not all of us are going to be able to work with positive behavioral reinforcement and have it be 100% effective, because every single one of us is different. This is that cookie cutter shit I've been complaining about for years. This is why I am a huge advocate that medical treatment, particularly with individuals with neurodevelopmental disabilities, should be based around that specific individual. Anything else is stupid. You're treating for me for all the things I don't have and for none of the things that I do. It's illogical. Okay? The treatment plan used on an individual should be catered to that particular individual's needs, strengths, and where they need to build some more strength. You know what I mean? That's why you see something like 55.5%. Okay? He's again lying to you. He's again trying to say, but it should work on 100% of them. No one treatment is going to solve 100% of the problems. When I was assessed, they determined that positive behavioral reinforcement was not going to be a good fit for me. For many reasons. They did, however, see that from my personality and from the assessments that they've done and the strengths, and the fact that I am very, very capable of self-analyzing myself and being completely honest about it, they felt that person-centered planning as opposed to the positive behavioral reinforcement was going to be the best bet, because then we could base it off the actual assessment and discuss as a group, as a brainstorming group, what accommodations might work for me, what self-coping matters, what self-coping techniques that I would need to learn to assist me when I have the issues with anxiety and depression. You see where I'm going here, right? No one treatment should be used on all autistics and you think you're going to get it 100%, because every single person on this earth, yes, even us autistic people, excuse me, 1 second. We're individuals. We're not fucking robots, all right? And by the way, 55.5%, besides his bullshit contempt story he's trying to sell you, is actually a very high success rate. Okay? It has its own issues. Of course it does. Still relies very heavily on modern ABA, and I've already gone over with you the many issues from that. But that's a pretty decent number, folks. Just saying. Higher functioning participants showed from 2 to 6 times more reduction than did lower functioning participants. Here the fuck we go again. Want to know the difference between so-called high functioning and low functioning, folks? Our ability to act. That's all it is. Okay? The main difference between so-called high functioning and low functioning is how good an actor or actress that we are, and how long can we go before we break character. It's literally all it is. Showing the neurotypicals what they want to see, so they'll leave us the fuck alone. That's all it is. That's what they call success. What they don't do is later studies after having gone through their insanity and what the psychological impact has been on those individuals. They don't want to show you the trauma. They don't want to show you the depression, the self-loathing, the how many of us burn out and at how young we start having burnouts. It's not honest, is it? Just saying. As far as low functioning, they want to say, but we have to use it on the low functioning. What else will work? I don't know. Maybe not being a complete psychopath. Individuals that he's referring to as low functioning are nonverbal. I'm going to put it in there for you because I know he and the many of those like him will not. They are actually far more capable than anybody in the medical model is willing to give them credit for. They want to tell you that all these things would be impossible if they didn't have somebody there to shock them or convince them to be as neurotypical as possible, and it's a lie. I've seen it work. I've seen person-centered planning work for someone who was considered quote-unquote low-functioning and barely verbal. Person still has and maintains not a workshop job, but an actual normal job. Okay? With reasonable accommodations and help with staff on occasion, this individual, her name's Renee, lives a pretty normal life. People like Matthew Israel would tell you that's impossible. But I've seen it, folks. Remember, I covered a very large 25% portion of my state, and I've seen it time and again. So, yeah, there's that. Now he's going to go about drugs again. Fuck. Psychotropic medications were reduced by 98%, emergency restraints reduced by 100%, and aggression-caused death injuries were reduced by 96%. That's a lie, doctor. That is a lie. This is why you can't cite yourself as a source, because you're not unbiased and you've got a real tendency to lie, hide shit, and destroy evidence, don't you? You've been caught, after all. This is a lie, folks. If that were actually true, why do we have DESI report after DESI report in regards to injuries sustained during takedowns? Why are there mentioned when binds are tied too tight within the bus or on the 4-point board? Why are there mentions of second and third degree burns during being bound to these places? That is a lie, sir. It is not reduced at all. At all. I'm just here to show the receipts, people. If you don't believe me that what he's saying is a lie, please go to the description box and click on Autistic Hoya's massive archive and look up the DESI reports. It's all there in the black and white for you to read, okay? As a result of the treatment, 38 participants no longer required CSS and some returned to a normal living pattern. That is a lie. I know as a fact that this doctor will fade and then slam the device back on the kids. I know for the fact that for the few rare individuals that he lets off the device for good, that he's still starving them. They're still using ABA. They're still using their bizarre behavioral rehearsal lessons. They're still depriving them of sleep. And they're still forcing them to act like fucking robots when people around them are screaming in pain. Wearing a mask is not a normal living pattern for us, folks. Okay? But it looks normal to me for you. For your neurotypical ass, it looks normal. Your normal is not my normal. Can I say that for the assholes in the back? Your normal is not my normal. It's not normal of any other person who has neurodiverse traits. Okay? It is not natural to us to act neurotypical. It's an act. And the reason why we get so exhausted, burnt out, and die young is because the world tells us that we are never, ever, ever allowed to break character. Okay? The few of us who make it to ancient autistics, I can tell you why we do it. Eventually we become so jaded and so fed up and so exhausted that we just hit fuck it. I hit fuck it when I turned about 29. About around that time, I had a major case of the fuck it's. So I ripped my mask off and I just started being me, what was normal for me, instead of trying to fake being someone that I'm not. Now, do I sometimes pull out my old persona once in a while, dust it off and put it back on because public? Yes. It is a habit at this point. It has so deeply been beaten into my brain that when I have to do something, particularly in the public eye, I will don it. One of the main reasons is most of the politicians around here won't take me seriously unless I do. That's just a sad fact. And if I'm going to get anywhere with these bastards, I have to put on the mask and play nice. But in my day-to-day life, about 29, I hit fuck it. Fuck these people. Fuck their expectations. Fuck their goals. Fuck their bullshit. I'm gonna be me. Hi, fuckers, I'm autistic. Deal with it. And believe me, life has improved. I can't even tell you, folks. It's made life so much easier since I don't even have the mask in my own home anymore. Because there was a point in time where I never took the mask off even when alone. Yeah, that. Just say. So Dr. Matthew Israel is full of shit. We learn how to mask. We learn to show neurotypical society what they want to see. Some of us become very gifted at it. That doesn't make what you're seeing real, folks. It's an illusion that we paint for you all so that we can be left alone. Okay? I can't emphasize that enough. That's why ABA and its most insane counterpart version of it never in actuality works. Now I'm going to close out on that. But before I do, let's go over this here. So Dr. Matthew Israel wants you to take his study seriously. Fucking hell. He wants you to believe that he has the right to cite himself as a source that proves his hypothesis. Even in science, this is not allowed, and it is the absolute height of arrogance and self-ego that he's going to do this and think that the UN and the world should take him seriously. Then he's going to give you lie after lie after lie. He's going to tell you that it's 100% effective. But if you read the other documents, he'll admit that it's not actually 100% effective. Because 100% effective means all behaviors are eliminated for all of eternity and they never have to use the device again. That is not true. He has admitted, matter of fact, that when you remove the fear, not only do they return, but they are worse than ever before. Now, he blames us taking away the life-saving medicine that I'm giving them. He's not blaming the psychological damage he has done to them. which is not surprising. Because even though this is in the extreme, most ABA doesn't take in our psychological and mental health and well-being to heart. It's all about the results. They don't care about the consequences. I'm going to say that again. It's all about the results that they want. They don't give two shits about the consequences or the psychological damage that they have done to an individual. He's going to sit there and tell you that it's 100% effective when it's obviously a lie. He's going to compare it to 55.5% in positive behavior reinforcement under this false idea and premise that all this treatment should be 100% effective on every single individual. Well, that just doesn't work because these people have mental health issues. They have Angelman syndrome, Down syndrome. They have myriads of different learning disabilities, myriads of different mental health issues. Many of them are not related to one another at all, except for the fact that they have a disability or mental health issue, and that's it. That's all they have in common. So it shouldn't be surprising that a program and treatment plan created specifically for fucking autistic people is not going to work on someone who suffers from PTSD. Like, seriously? Seriously, doctor. These are not the same disabilities, so of course, it's only logical that the same treatments are not going to have the same effects on somebody with a completely different disability from mine. And even within the disability itself, within autism, not one treatment program is going to work for every single individual who has the diagnosis. This is stupidity here. Complete, utter stupidity. And I just wanted to point it out for the umpteenth time. Take away from this, you can't cite yourself as a source because you're not unbiased. You also can't sit here and bald-faced lie to us when we have seen the receipts. Now I'm going to close out. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this topic. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.